Well, ma'am, you spent 44 hours in this case, right?
Yes, I did.
So that was sufficient time in the beginning, at least, for her to assess your body language and that you felt respectful, correct?
Not the first 5 minutes when I met her, no, Mr. Martinez.
No one forced you to open your mouth those first 5 minutes and say, I am sorry, did they?
I'm not sure that I did it within the first 5 minutes, but I did it relatively soon, and nobody forced me. No, They did not.
And the 5 minutes that I just used, you were the one that just told me about it, right? That's the time that you told me, right?
I did not. I don't know that I did it within the first 5 minutes, Mr. Martinez. I don't know that I did that. What I do know is that I did it relatively soon, but that we had no basis for communication prior to that, so had I sat silently, that wouldn't have worked. Did I have to make an apology? Probably you could say no. I would say I thought it was a respectful and good thing to do. It was my decision to do it. So you can argue with that decision, but that's my decision, and I believe it was the right decision to make.
We believe that it was the right decision, but if your statement is true about the 90%, isn't it also true that, well, how long did you meet the first time with her? It wasn't 5 minutes and it wasn't 30, was it? It was more than that.
It was 8 hours, I believe.
Right, and in the first time that you met for 8 hours, you could have, through your body language, this 90% rule, after maybe 1 or 2 hours, attempted to convey this to her through this nonverbal communication that you have talked to us about, right?
I think I probably apologized to her before 2 hours.
I understand that, but my point is you didn't have to apologize immediately upon walking in, right?
No.
You could have waited 1 or 2 hours to see how she dealt with you, to see whether or not she was going to trust you, right?
I guess I'm not sure why this is such an issue.
Judge, she's being non-responsive.
Stained.
Ma'am, you understand that you're here to answer my questions, right?
Yes.
So my question to you is, in terms of this apology, it's true that it wasn't necessary within the first 5 minutes or the first half hour because you spent actually 8 hours with her, right?
I felt that it was necessary. That's why I did it.
I understand that you felt that it was necessary, but you weren't compelled to apologize, were you?
Objection, asked to be answered several times.
And during this conversation, you talked to her about what happened, right?
Yes.
And during this conversation, one of the other things that is that you had a really good feeling about her, right?
I had a more positive feeling than I did prior to meeting with her, but I don't know that really good. I had a much better feeling about her after I spoke with her.
Isn't it true that you and I had a conversation back on November 14th of 2012?
Yes, it is.
Isn't it true that you indicated to me that you looked at the materials and you received a lot of information and you had a good feeling about her?
I did. I said a good feeling. I did.
And so this good feeling that you had about her, again, this is on a personal level, feelings, isn't it?
It was, yes, she answered questions that I had. She filled in blanks that I had.
Right, and so as a result of that, you developed, if you will, something inside your brain, which is the thing that creates the testimony that we have here. In there was a good feeling. You've apologized because you felt bad. Now you have a good feeling after talking to her, right?
A good feeling. I have a better feeling to pursue the case, for sure.
I'm not asking about a better feeling to pursue the case. I'm asking about a good feeling about her because that's what you told me, that you developed a good feeling about her. Do you remember telling me that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I did.
And so now not only have you apologized, now in your mind, which is what you've told us how you arrive at your opinions in this case, something that we can't look at, correct? We can't go inside your brain, open it up, and look at the way things develop, can we?
No, but you mischaracterized what I said.
I understand that you believe that. So now you have this good feeling, and then you continue on with the case, right?
Yes, I do.
Isn't it clear to you, as you sit here today, that perhaps there's an issue of bias on your part on behalf of the defendant, given your feelings and what you've done?
No, I don't believe that there is.
So you can set all these good feelings aside then, right?
I have good...
Mischaracterizing what was happening in the interview with regard to good feelings.
Overruled.
Right?
I think that what you're talking about, that I have positive feelings and that would really interfere with my look at some objective material. And I'm not saying that I'm not a human being and I'm not affected by good feelings. I'm saying that I look at lots of things because I take this case very seriously. It's a very serious case.
But in this case, there are no objective materials, are there? Like a test, are there?
I don't think tests are objective.
So you're saying, for example, if we have a DNA test, that's not objective?
Oh, I'm not talking about DNA. I thought you were talking about psychological
No, we're
testing.
talking about things like that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I look at materials that are written from a variety of sources, including Mr. Alexander, and I took all of that into account. I didn't just take Miss Arias's words into account.
One of the things that you told us, or you told me during the interview, and you told us during testimony, was that the defendant suffered from low self-esteem. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
Well, now, one of the things that, with regard to low self-esteem, isn't it true that when the defendant was about to be evaluated, isn't it true that she was happy because she believed that her IQ was as high as Einstein's? Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I do.
And in fact, that speaks against somebody who has low self-esteem, right?
Not necessarily.
So the fact that the defendant was happy to have her IQ tested because she believes she's on the level with Einstein doesn't indicate to you that this individual does not suffer from a low self-esteem issue.
Most people who talk about how smart they are don't feel that they're that smart, or they're really interested as, by the way, I did do testing as an undergraduate. When I did my practice test, people were very interested in their IQ because it's interesting. So there could be a number of reasons why she was excited about that. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well, but the bottom line is you had it in your notes, right? You read that, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you're saying that, well, all these other people have these reasons why they want to know what their IQ is. You don't know that's why the defendant wanted to know about her IQ, right?
No, I don't.
Because you didn't ask her, right?
No, I didn't.
And it could be that she has a very high self-esteem, and she believes it, and this is going to be confirmation for her
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
that she is smarter than almost anyone else.
I don't believe her behavior demonstrates high self-esteem, Mr. Martinez.
You're talking about behavior, we're talking about an IQ test, and her indication that she believes that her IQ may be as high as Einstein's.
Self-esteem is not just about IQ, Mr. Martinez.
Right? It could be about other things. For example, one of the things that we know about her is that whenever she had an issue with people, she would correct everybody's grammar, right?
There were people who said that, yes.
Well, this is part of what you read going into this interview with her, right? The first interview, right?
Yes.
And so you now know this information. You're walking into this interview knowing that she's corrected other people with regard to their grammar, right?
Actually, I don't know that I had read that yet. I'm not sure. I was given a limited amount of information prior to going in to see Miss Arias, and I can't exactly tell you which things I was given a year and a half ago prior to meeting with her.
But at least you now know that that's something that is out there and you have in your notes, correct?
Yes.
So now we have a situation where she believes she's intelligent, she corrects other people's grammar. Isn't that an indication to you, ma'am, about somebody who has a high sense of self?
Not at all.
All right. The other thing, ma'am, is that do you remember when she was in jail up in Wairika and the defendant's manifesto? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about
Do you
that.
remember that that was in your notes?
I remember hearing about it. I've never seen it.
You haven't seen the manifesto. I'm not asking if you've seen the manifesto, but you've heard about it, right?
I've only heard that there was a manifesto. I don't honestly know anything about it.
And I understand you may not have seen it, but isn't it true that the defendant was signing or autographing copies of the manifesto?
Objection. May we approach?
Continue.
Now, with regard to this manifesto, I understand you haven't seen it, but in your notes, doesn't it indicate that the defendant actually signed the manifesto to distribute in case she became famous?
I believe those were in my notes.
And again, if that is true, doesn't that speak against the idea that the defendant lacks self-esteem?
No, I don't think it does at all. I think you can also have self-esteem issues in particular areas of your life. But I don't think because somebody writes something and thinks it's great, she may think she's a good writer, and that may be part of feeling good about herself, because most of us have areas that we feel good about ourselves, but it doesn't mean we have high self-esteem in the rest of our lives.
You're also familiar with the results of the MCI, correct? The test.
I took notes on it, but as you've already mentioned, I'm not an expert in testing.
Right, but you did note in it when you were talking about self-esteem, right? You took note of what the results were on self-esteem.
Yes.